This TikToker got rich from faking to be a billionaire for TikTok videos. And honestly, it is just such an interesting example of how, yet again, things are not always as they seem like they are on social media. But this so-called billionaire and queen of rich talk, which I guess is the TikTok term for a bunch of rich girls sitting there and yapping while unboxing, like $50,000 purses and so on and so on. But she got so much backlash from a couple of tone-deaf TikToks that she accidentally got her family's past brought up and aired out for the whole world. Because a lot of people are questioning, where did all this money come from? And a lot of people are speculating that it came from some questionable business dealings. But at one point, she was hailed as one of the few rich girls who rich is right, whatever that means. But she's now under fire for being, well, painfully out of touch. I don't know what people expected though, but she feeds her cat caviar for breakfast. So the fact that people thought that she wasn't out of touch to begin with just doesn't make sense whatsoever to me. But hey, here we are. But nowadays, you can argue that most people are kind of over content creators, flaunting their excessive wealth online, because at this point, excessive flexing material things is just so overdone. In the last couple of years, it seems like so many influencers suddenly have leased a supercar and they out of nowhere have a course to sell you. But despite this sort of content being pretty tacky, Becca Bloom avoided a lot of that usual criticism and was instead admired and adored by literally millions of people on TikTok. Yeah, 5.3 million people to be exact. I guess you can kind of say that her content to girls on TikTok is kind of like what Rice Gum was to Hypebeast back in 2016. I mean, one of her earliest videos is a bunch of Hermes boxes piled up in the back of a Cybertruck. Tell me that doesn't sound like a modern version of some clout house bit from years ago. But everything started to shift when she decided to post a hot take. And that had a lot of her followers feeling rubbed the wrong way. And it makes sense.
Here's what men don't understand about equality. You think equality means splitting the bill. Women live in a society where equality has never existed in the first place. Women still only make 80% of what a man makes for the same full-time job. So when you ask for a 50-50 date, know that her 50% costs more of her income than it does yours. Second of all, women pay more just to exist in the dating world, about $400 a month just on grooming and beauty. And that's not because they want to spend more, it's because they're held to the beauty standards that men built and judged them by. Not only that, women carry safety risk too. They are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience violence from a date. Men love to talk about equality, but not the part where you have to send your locations to your friends and carry safety weapons in your purse just to go to dinner with you. Here's the irony. Men only remember the word equality when it benefits them financially. Not when it comes to wages, not when it comes to safety, not when it comes to emotional workload, not when it comes to the cost of beauty, not when it comes to the social scrutiny women face on a daily basis. But suddenly you want equality when the bill hits the table. Equality isn't identical treatment. Equality is balanced responsibility. And until society becomes statistically equal, you cannot cherry pick equality only in moments where it allows you to contribute less. So yes, my husband pays all the bills, and yes, I think that's the bare minimum.
I feel like that final sentence is what really makes everything so out of touch. And that's the bare minimum. Come on. If she ended it with and I'm so incredibly grateful for him, I feel like it would just come across pretty differently. That would have at least changed part of the feel of the video, because that's a massive privilege to be able to have your dude cover everything for you. Inherently, I feel like most men want to provide for their family. But with how devalued our currency has become over the last 50 years, assets and goods of cost have skyrocketed at a faster pace than wages. So many jobs in the 1970s could support an entire family with a stay-at-home mom. But right now, unfortunately, that doesn't really happen anymore to the same degree. So most households need to have 2 people working to be able to afford to live in the city, especially a major American city in the Northeast or West Coast. And don't even get me started about the major cities in Canada, because those are even more unaffordable somehow. And it's like that around the world. So overall, her statement just comes across as so tone deaf, especially when she's making content like this. Come on. And everyone knows how the internet goes. Once you start getting a little bit of backlash, unfortunately, people start scouring the web for any information they can get about you. And it's safe to say that people have found some things on her family and where potentially some of this money was from. But let's start from the beginning, because it wasn't even that long ago. It was a year ago, because Becca Bloom's first post was literally 1 year ago, meaning she amassed millions of followers in less than a year, which is insane. And I guess her meteoric rise and fall has been set against the backdrop of, $1,000 hauls, flights on private jets, and levels of wealth that most people can really only witness on TikTok. She's essentially just famous for blowing stupid amounts of money. So honestly, someone like this saying something out of touch is kind of like, oh wow, fork found in kitchen. It shouldn't really come as a surprise. She never apologized for being extravagant. Not that you should, but she seemed to definitely take some pride into it. But at least, instead of trying to sell people on the whole, oh, you can do it too, buy my course, she simply just let people have a peek into what normally would be completely unavailable for the average person. Honestly, I feel like the bar is set pretty low when I'm like, hey, at least she didn't have a get-rich-quick course. But one of her most viral videos is, I guess, her just buying a brand new MacBook because she wanted a case, but the case that she liked didn't fit her current MacBook, so she just bought a brand new MacBook so it could fit the case.
Okay, please don't judge me for this, but I fell in love with the laptop case, but they don't make it in my 15-inch size. It's only in 14-inch. So I decided to buy a new laptop today to fit that laptop case because it was just so pretty. I promise I'm not normally this extra.
Something that most people would never think of doing. Because a lot of her videos you would think are parody, and then you're like, oh no, she's just really just that out of touch reality. But then in other videos, she would do crazy stuff like arrange her cat's food, and obviously drizzle them with caviar and so on and so on.
Plate my cat's breakfast with me. Oscar and I are actually eating from matching chargers this morning. Sushi grade salmon sashimi. Our chef also made Oscar this tuna bone broth blend, soft boiled quail eggs. We have some salmon roe caviar for seasoning.
Apparently her kitties are eating better than most people in the world. And obviously there were comments calling her out for how ridiculous this display of wealth was, but the overwhelming majority of viewers just really ate it up. So she shared her relationship, days of her life, outlandish hauls, wedding prep, and the occasional educational video about whatever topic was hot that day. But I feel like this is just a big reminder of, just because someone has money or followers doesn't necessarily mean that they are wise or that you should actually listen to them. Because unfortunately, a lot of people look at these influencers as North Stars as to what rich people do and how they think. Because as easy it is to build a whole facade of being this billionaire influencer, apparently it can unravel equally as quickly. Because I feel like even the people who weren't interested in her excessive spending, they just rolled their eyes and continued scrolling. But when Becca decided to get on her TikTok unprompted and make a self-righteous speech about equality, people started raising their eyebrows.
Equality isn't identical treatment. Equality is balanced responsibility. And until society becomes statistically equal, you cannot cherry pick equality only in moments where it allows you to contribute less.
It seems like with her whole argument, she's trying to lean into the whole divine feminine narrative that's honestly pretty popular nowadays because it's glamorized. And for so many people, it's unattainable. And obviously, to be fair, her points about women being at more risk in terms of safety, I'm not here to argue about her opinions on dating or I guess the socio standards between men and women. I'm just covering what happened and how the internet reacted. Because it seems like the internet thought it was quite corny to get up on a soapbox and talk about equality when she exists on a financial class so far above the norm, it's hard to even imagine. So people were obviously quick to jump on her in the comments and remind her that even if she'd experienced inequality as a woman, that the level of wealth that she possessed has exempted her from a lot of that. Basically, a lot of people are like, why are you going on about this? I feel like people are like, we're here to see you unbox 50 Hermes bags and feed your cat caviar we can't afford. Why are you trying to relate to us? So then her entire comments were like, you should redistribute your wealth instead of doing this, which is also crazy. And this then resulted into people deep diving into her family and how exactly they made their fortune. Because Becca has apparently mentioned and shown her family in previous videos, but she's never really talked about what they do for a living and where the money's from.
I want to give my parents as much privacy as possible, but obviously they're extremely successful and they're both entrepreneurs working in tech and real estate.
But I guess after this, the internet were like, okay, who are these people? So they decided to do some research and figure out what kind of family she's from. And allegedly, most of the information about Becca's parents has been wiped from the internet. And that's, again, allegedly, due to the fact that the company Becca's dad worked for was hit with multiple lawsuits and investigations for securities fraud and lying to investors. And you know, that's never a good thing. But the company Camelot Information Systems is a holding company that conducts business through its operating subsidiaries in China. And in 2011, a short seller, Spruce Point Capital, issued a report which claimed that management had withheld negative business trends and raised the possibility that fraud had been committed. Uh-oh. So, to make a long story very short, they were accused of lying to investors about the value of the company to inflate the stock price. This was never proven though, because the lawsuit was settled. So honestly, we'll probably never know. But it's not a great look, and it definitely doesn't scream billionaire. But then to make things even worse for Becca, all of this attention led to people scrutinizing her clothes and her accessories and accusing her of flexing fakes. So now, people are claiming that she's never actually been as rich as she let on, and instead are alleging that she faked this lifestyle to grow a TikTok account, and now the facade is just completely collapsed. She's had lots of collabs or sponsored posts where she said herself that the company flew her out, or at least supplied the products that she's showcasing.
Come high jewelry shopping with me. Bulgari flew us out to Italy to look at their newly unveiled collection, Polychroma.
So sure, she's flaunting being in Italy with an expensive brand, but I guess that's just because she's an influencer now and not because she's always been a billionaire. And I mean, look, she's obviously had money, and clearly her family does well for themselves, whether it's by questionable practices or not. And not to mention, her husband works in tech. So I mean, hey, there could easily be some money there. I don't think she's getting enough brand deals to put her in mansions and private jets and so on. So that money's external. So no, I don't think she's fake. I just don't think she's a billionaire. And she could have easily been embellishing things to kickstart her career. But I feel like what all this boils down to is people are just becoming tired of out-of-touch influencers and their extravagant lifestyles, and then them preaching to normal people. Like, wasn't it like Gustavo Fring who like recently was like, some of you guys must die so we can take back our country? And I feel like the rest of the people are like, I don't know about you, dog. I'm good. I'm chilling here. I'm not trying to die. I don't know, guys. We just live in some crazy times. We got a whole lot of people who are out of touch, but at least it's entertaining. So, hey, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one, probably tomorrow. And also, I'm up all night. That's why I look completely fried in this video, because I have to get on a flight in like 3 hours because, yes, we're traveling for yet another video, and this video is going to be absolutely insane. But I needed to make sure I could record this video so I could actually still upload today while I would be traveling. So I did the entire workday for today in the nighttime. So I'm just going to sleep on the plane. But until tomorrow, I'll see you then. Peace.